Hello. I'm your humble host Basil Harrington and welcome to the Basil Harrington Show. This is my special guest of tonight's splendid presentation. Won't you give it up for Mrs. Lucretia Jane Bookbynder of the Upper Malhamptons in East Gloucestershire, yo.
Hello Basil. It is such a pleasure being here, I'm sure.
Well then, little missy, let's just get right down to it. Do you know what I'm saying, yo? So, like, when did you first learn that your husband was like the Illuminati Grand Wizard? I imagine that was an astonishing revelation, no?
Boy howdy. It just shows to go you that you never know when a member of the planetary ruling elite resides even within the sanctity of one's own marriage bed. The shock has been incredibly difficult to take, especially given the revelation that I was originally incubated for my role as Mrs. Grand Wizard in an orbiting laboratory which was manned by silvery alien beings I barely remember.
Good golly Lucretia. That truly is a tale you don't hear every day at the House of Pancakes or even at one's local bathhouse. We very much want to applaud you on your courage for stepping forward today, despite the great peril in which you perhaps place yourself.
Basil, I do so appreciate your appreciation.
Then, let's consider beginning at the beginning, shall we?
Alrighty then, I had been leading a normal life, for one who lives in a lofty Balmoral castle, under the direct patronage from the Crown, the Vatican, and the veritable Council on Foreign Relations, et al. Just as I was getting used to the routine of taking the children to school, and neighborhood football contests, I then walk in on my husband Bubby, on what appeared to be a satanic child sacrificial ritual, and most gruesome to behold, especially given my delicate sensibilities as a lady of the realm, and despite my aforementioned ghoulish inception, I remain firmly convinced that the silvery beings were loving and supportive as they brought me, perhaps ignobly, into the present incarnation of my immortal transmigration. Yo.
Well, that is one interesting yarn, if and I do say so, my dear Lucretia.
Yes, but Basil, one point that I do wish to make here is that, in conjunction with the lovely glowing orbs, which hover about the Balmoral Castle keep, on the all-high holy day, that of the ephemeral pleasant uplift. All are welcome as we celebrate with this year's cherished theme, one planet, one tax collector for all. Can I get a witness, good God?
Surely you jest, Lucretia. But now we must break for a timely commercial message from our sponsor, Soggy Suds, the beer you want when you get parched, yippee-yay. And by our nation's own Narloon Sealy Band has brand spanking new CD, songs from the real zone, yo. And of course, the boys are always available for parties and all manner of concertina and especially that end year bash. I'm looking for me own invite this year, yo. Now, lovely Lucretia, what has happened to you since coming out the proverbial closet, while still sounding remarkably, and probably and sadly, permanently damaged by the trauma? One can only imagine the evil, which you uncovered, when your brilliant revelations kicked in, as it were, yo.
Well, my snide yet gamely endearing Basil, without responding to your various double entendre and convoluted verbiage, I would like to recall meetings Bobby would have with remarkable men who command nations with their checkbooks and exceedingly effective bribery. These by now, inhuman, and I don't use that term lightly given my own upbringing, yes these inhuman big shots always come around and mischief ensues inevitably, yo.
Won't you go on, my dear?
Indeed, it was none other than Alex Jones himself, who hipped me into the knowing. Dark had been the other world that Bubby inhabited. I knew it deep down, that he was more than the stylish philanthropic businessman of his public persona, being called away to strange meetings and goings-ons at all hours of the day and night. Yet, I lived in a perpetual state of denial, and I don't mean the river, yo.
Did you discover that there were specific, and one would hope, already famous individuals that frequented Bobby's Illuminati hangouts?
You betcha. Bobby liked to have Z, Big New and Henrique around, especially at Christmas, and oh the gifts, the magnificent presents. But surely, I digress. Other famous faces around the secret clubhouse were the Dick, Cheney and of course, Bill Clinton, but of course, without Hillary, who Bobby detested for obvious reasons. He felt threatened by her, mostly, and since Bobby talked in his sleep every night, I learned quite a bit about that.
Do go on, dear.
I recall one Tony Blair that came about a bit. He used to be such a decent fellow. And handsome.
Thank you for these bombshell revelations, Lucretia. And remember folks, you heard it all here first, on the Basil Harrington Show.